The War of Spanish Succession, 1701 to 1714, was a crucial conflict in which England played a significant role, primarily driven by the desire to prevent the unification of the French and Spanish crowns under Philip V of Spain, a grandson of Louis XIV of France. England, aligned with a coalition of European powers known as the Grand Alliance, was determined to curb the expansion of French power in Europe and safeguard the balance of power. 1. The reasons for England's involvement. England's involvement in the war was motivated by concerns over the potential consolidation of power in France and Spain under the Bourbon dynasty. The idea of a unified French-Spanish empire would have disrupted the balance of power in Europe and threatened England's security, particularly in its colonial holdings and trade routes. The death of Charles II of Spain in 1700 and his will, which named Philip of Anjou as his successor, was seen as a direct challenge to English interests. In response, England joined forces with Austria, the Dutch Republic and other European powers to support Archduke Charles of Austria as the rightful heir to the Spanish throne. 2. England's military contribution. England's military efforts in the war were spearheaded by John Churchill, Duke of Marlborough, one of the most skilled commanders of the period. Marlborough led a series of brilliant campaigns including the Battle of Blenheim, 1704, Ramillies, 1706, and Oudenarde, 1708, where his forces dealt devastating defeats to the French. These victories helped secure vital territories in the Spanish Netherlands, modern-day Belgium, and forced the French to retreat on several fronts. Despite these successes, England's commitment to the war began to wane as the conflict dragged on. The British public grew weary of the financial strain and the long duration of the war, and internal political tensions between the Whigs, who supported the war effort, and the Tories, who were inclined toward peace, began to rise. 3. The role of England in the war's decline. By 1712, after a series of costly battles, the Allied forces found themselves exhausted and stretched thin. The Battle of Malplaquet, 1709, was particularly costly, as it resulted in heavy casualties and further demoralized the British military. Public opinion in England shifted, and there was growing pressure to negotiate a peace settlement. The Whig-led government that had supported the war effort lost political ground to the Tory party, which favored diplomacy over continued fighting. 4. The Treaty of Utrecht, 1713. By the time of the Battle of Denain, 1712, which marked a significant French victory, England's involvement was reaching its limits. The Treaty of Utrecht, 1713, which ended the war, reflected England's changing priorities. Though Philip V remained on the Spanish throne, the treaty ensured that the French and Spanish crowns would remain separate, preventing the feared unification of the two powers. England gained significant territorial concessions, including control of Gibraltar, a key strategic naval base, and Minorca in the Mediterranean. The treaty also granted England greater influence over the Atlantic trade, securing its position as a dominant maritime power. England's role in the War of Spanish Succession was instrumental in shaping the conflict's outcome. While it played a crucial military role, particularly under Marlborough, England's focus shifted over time from military victories to diplomatic solutions. The Treaty of Utrecht not only marked the end of the war but also secured England's rise as a global naval power, establishing Gibraltar as a cornerstone of British influence in the Mediterranean and the Atlantic world. The war therefore helped set the stage for England's imperial expansion in the 18th century.